But when they brought it up, the walls were down, and it was no longer a let's run away from him. They truly wanted to know what I wanted to know. Once they knew that I cared about them, then they cared about me,
Right.
and they're willing to accept it.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Exit Is Now podcast with me, your host, Scott Snider. We're on a special series here over the next 2 or 3 episodes as we are broadcasting from EPI's headquarters during our EPI Partner Summit. What our EPI Partner Summit is a place where VIPs like our chapter presidents, our faculty, our sponsors, and our partners that all help build and contribute to the EPI community come together once a year here in Cleveland, Ohio, at EPI HQ to really drive, I think, clarity, alignment, and vision. And one of our guests, who I think you all know, certainly in the EPI community very well, is none other than my buddy Rick, who is the owner of a company, MyBizValue. I think a very recognizable name walking through our partner and exhibit hall each year. But also 2 other, I think, claims to fame for him inside of the EPI community. Number one, he is the chapter president of our Utah chapter. And then beyond that, he this year at our Exit Planning Summit won a Member of the Year. And so I asked him obviously he's here in town as a community partner for us, but I really want to dive into the best-in-class SEPA element that is around connection and collaboration. And that's really what makes up the Member of the Year each year. So with that, Rick, welcome to the show. And,
Thank you.
And maybe I would say, too, if you follow us on LinkedIn, this is the guy that took me snowmobiling in January. We were laughing off air. Rick had asked me while we're sitting on top of this massive mountain in Utah, have you ever been snowmobiling before? And I said, yeah, through cornfields in Ohio, but nothing like this. So nonetheless, welcome to Cleveland and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it.
So as a partner, for those that are perhaps unfamiliar, can you just talk to us first about the business that you've started and owned and perhaps how in collaboration you're working with SEPAs from around the community?
So I started the business. I sell businesses. That's my main business. And
Right.
And about 10 years ago, I had a client approach me about getting a business valuation. And I would send them out to someone that had a certified value and a CVA, and they kept coming back, or like ping pong balls, Scott. They were like, oh, and I'd send them out, and they're like, Rick, it's $10,000, and I just need a number. And so finally, one client, he had an insurance business, and he twisted my arm and said, hey, please just pull some comparables, give me a number. And I said, okay. I quoted him a number, I did it, and he loved it. And then he came back, and I was doing some work for his buddies, and it just kind of blossomed from there. And I saw this niche or this need in the market, and we created this based on what the clients wanted. And they wanted an affordable valuation that they could make an informed decision that didn't break the piggy bank, that just gave them a solid number. And as you know, with the triggering event, that's what it's all about. When we're calculating the wealth gap, we got to know what the business is worth.
Exactly.
And we got to have something we can rely on. That's usually the biggest hole in the financial plan. They're like, what's your business worth? Oh, I don't know, $4 million, whatever. And so now I work with advisors and collaborate with them, advisors all over the country, at that triggering event in the initial stage when they're just getting started. Because they don't want to spend $10,000 or $15,000 or more. They want to spend a small dollar amount and make a small investment to get a number.
Well, and I would say to get started, right? I think that
Yes.
the triggering event inside of the Discover Gate of the methodology is called such because it triggers the action of the owner. It's a starting point. It is the identification of what we have and what we could have. And so, yeah, I think that we need a number so we could start moving, right? And so we might investigate that number in a deeper way as we build, but nevertheless, yeah, just starting out is you have to have a starting point.
Yep. And what we do is we are about, and you've said this many times, it's about a number. But I try and do some brain surgery as well, and that is to change their thinking from income generation to value creation.
Absolutely.
And that's why we do a phone call with them. Once it's done, we set up a meeting with the advisor, myself, and the client. We'll go through, we do a phone call with the client, and they leave with a number, and they also leave with a path and a design on what they need to do next. And I think that's the biggest value that we bring. That's how we collaborate with the advisors, because, then they're like, okay, is it an internal sale? Okay, what do I need to do?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
What are the next steps for that? Is it an ESOP?
Right.
What does that look like? An exit, an external, whatever it is, we collaborate with them and bring that advisor in. Sometimes the advisors want to be the quarterback. Sometimes they need me to be the quarterback. And
Right.
so that clearly defines roles and that path forward.
So let's focus in on that collaboration. We've kind of talked about it here in the opening moments of the show. And when we look at not only just the certified exit planning advisor, Rick, but if we looked at what truly makes the most trusted and valued advisor, it becomes about a relationship with an owner, not necessarily just a transaction. And when you study the advisors like you that are really good at it, there are 3 elements that make up these most valuable and trusted advisors that have deep relationships with business owners. The first is they have this ability to change their language and approach with owners, to embrace what you just said, not an income generation mindset, but they deliver a value creation mindset to the owner. The next thing that they have is they are typically lifelong learners, right? They believe in professional growth. They believe in purposeful growth, a core value that frankly hangs behind us on the EPI core value wall. But they are lifelong learners. As the methodology evolves, we all kind of evolve along with it as more and more owners come into the community. And the one that really is focused on member of the year is really around connection and collaboration. And I think it's one of the 3 that you do really, really well. I was always impressed. That snowmobiling trip actually stemmed from you inviting me out to Salt Lake City to speak at your chapter to kind of kick off the year. And I had multiple shock moments, if I'm being honest, that were really impactful. You sat me down with breakfast with your leadership team, and I can remember on the way to the meeting, I took out my phone and I texted my team and I said that was probably one of the most collaborative and maybe brought together leadership teams I think I've might have had breakfast with. And then I got to your meeting, and the meeting had a sense of energy and fire to it, where you could just tell people weren't just coming to learn, people were coming to also see each other, meet, greet, and frankly try to do some more business together. And so that community that you have built in Utah has been, I think, quite significant. So I'd like to focus the show a little bit around for our audiences. How did you do that? What makes you this connector and collaborator of people? And maybe let's start with the leadership team. So when you look at a leadership team, which I think, Rick, is a nice example of what a core exit planning advisory team could even be like for an owner, how do you choose those type of advisors, and how do you lead a team like that along the way?
So, Scott, one of the first things that happened is I was thinking about starting the chapter. My initial inclination was, let's lock all the other business brokers out. I don't want to be the only one.
yeah, I want a monopoly here. It's just me.
I got it.
Yeah.
I'm here, right?
Right.
Let's shut the door.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Rick, I kind of beat myself. I'm like, Rick, this is stupid, right? Don't have this mentality of scarcity.
Exactly.
Have an abundance mentality. And so not only was I not locking them out, I was reaching out and inviting other business brokers to be part of this. And what happens, and I said this many times, it's like when you raise the level of the sea, all boats rise.
Exactly right. Mm-hmm.
And so as a collaborator and an educator, I'm like, we're going to make each of us better. We're going to make all of the people that are here better, more educated. They can speak the language, the value acceleration methodology. The SEPA's in the room. They know what to say. And we're not competitors, because this silver tsunami, this $14 trillion that's coming our way, it's not a matter of how do we slice the pie. It's like, how do we build funnels large enough to handle this business that's going to come our way? Because it's going to mull us over. And we need good people, not just 2 or 3. We need dozens and dozens of people, right, that are going to handle it. Or the business owners are going to suffer. And it's all about the business owners, truly. As we get better, they get better and they have better exits, and it's just good for the community.
I think going along those lines too, right? Going beyond the silver tsunami and maybe into the next generations as well. One thing that we opened up this year with at our partner summit was a conversation around what does the EPI and the EPI community and the exit planning profession look like in 3 to 5 years. Mm-hmm. And I think that beyond the baby boomer business owners exiting, you have this unique millennial crowd that might exit multiple times throughout their career or out their business owner journey. So to your point, a scarcity mindset does not make for collaboration, because if you have the scarcity mindset, you're shutting the door. Yep. Instead of shutting the door, you're actually welcoming your competitors in, because frankly, I also think we all grow together, even with the competitors in the room.
We do.
If you could take two Super Bowl winning teams, two different teams, but you put them collectively together, I'm sure they're bringing different elements to the table. And you're like, ooh, I like that. Maybe I can use some of that. And then the other guy in the room that's doing what that you have done, you're saying, man, I really like the way Rick approaches that. Maybe I'll take a little bit of that in. And so to your point, all advisors are better. And I think that's what we're after, right? That's truly the impact of helping companies become more significant. It's not just about one, it's about many. So
community.
It's about community. Yeah,
it's about the whole community. And like my leadership team, I developed what I did, and I ought to weigh, I'm a skinny guy, I ought to weigh 400 pounds with as many people as I
How many breakfast meetings you go out to?
Hundreds of meetings and lunches. And I was like, I felt like I was the Pied Piper of exit planning in Utah, because nobody else was talking about it. And I'm like, I got to get some people excited. So I went around and I got on LinkedIn and I just found strangers, people that I'm like, I need an M&A attorney. Well, let me find one. I need so-and-so. And I just started taking them to lunch and saying, hey, I'm doing this, and I'm wondering if you want to be a part of it. And what I found was people got excited. And they were like, yeah, I'll be a part of it. So we assembled a leadership team who had the same core values of collaboration, about education, and about raising the level of the sea so all boats could rise. And when I surrounded myself with that team, that became the core and I think the foundation from which the rest of the chapter just flourished.
And there's a couple of key things to pull out there for the audience. One, literally just being able to go on a platform like LinkedIn, look for folks that are local, and simply reach out and have a meeting, right? A collaborative session. Two, once he had the right people in the room, we said collectively, what are the core values of this leadership team, and let that kind of lead us down the path of inviting more into our meeting. And I think those two key things are important for others that are looking to connect and collaborate, or frankly start and run a great chapter. I think it truly starts with a great leadership team. And for me, again, when I was sitting at that breakfast the morning of our meeting, it was like 100% participation too. Mm-hmm. So you clearly have people bought into the overall purpose, mission, and vision of what you collectively are trying to build. So that's got to be doing something right? It's when you could lead people that way. I think it's super impressive.
Hi there, my name is Casey Clark. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Cultivate Advisors. We love working alongside wealth managers to help increase the enterprise value of the companies you work with, helping them speed up liquidity events, growing their profitability, ultimately helping you attract and retain more business owners. So we start by giving you a free online assessment tool. Now, this is a tool that only takes about 10 to 15 minutes for each of the companies you work with to take. After they take it, it's going to help kick out a 25-page customized report. It's going to help them understand what's the value of their company currently. Additionally, it's going to help break down the 24 value drivers that make up the health of the business. And that will together show the gap required if they were to solve those things that could help increase their enterprise value and help them become more educated. Now, as a partner of yours, we're going to match them with a past entrepreneur that's been extremely successful to sit down for several hours at no cost. And what we're going to do is we're going to help them think through the enterprise value of where they want to go, what the timeline of potential exit might be, and we're going to work it all the way back into what are the different growth rates required. How does the health score need to move, and at what rate? We're even going to get into the problem solving of goals and road mapping of what the growth will look like as they continue forward in the organization. This is super, super impactful. How do business owners know what they don't know? Well, it's called getting third-party perspective, and we're here to offer that alongside you as their wealth manager.
Are you a business owner seeking to unlock the true potential of your enterprise? Look no further than the second edition of Christopher Snider's revolutionary book, Walking to Destiny: 11 Actions an Owner Must Take to Rapidly Grow Value and Unlock Wealth. In this updated edition, Snider presents proven strategies for maximizing your company's value and accelerating growth. Whether you're aiming to sell or simply want to ensure long-term success, this book offers a blueprint for building a thriving, self-sustaining business. Walking to Destiny isn't just another book, it's a game changer, backed by Snider's own experience as a successful business owner and as a CPA. This book bridges the gap between business owners and advisors, guiding you towards financial freedom. But don't just take our word for it. Hear from those whose lives have been transformed by its insights. One satisfied reader raves, "The best guide for transitioning out of privately owned companies. I recommend it to all business owners and advisors." Another praises it on its focus for maximizing business value, calling it their, quote, principal tool for educating owners. Ready to take control of your business's destiny? Visit walkingtodestiny.com now and use code EXITISNOW to claim your free copy of Walking to Destiny: 11 Actions an Owner Must Take to Rapidly Grow Value and Unlock Wealth. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Make the moment perfect by seizing this opportunity today.
Let's talk a little bit about the chapter, though, as a whole, right? So there's one of the reasons I wanted to come out and see you is there's this, like, break down the wall moment, if you will, right? And there's a in a typical meeting spaces, I'm sure people certainly have been in them. They have air walls, right, that split the room into, two halves or, thirds or whatever, quarters, whatever it might be. And Rick, talk about LinkedIn too. Rick goes online and videotapes him taking down the wall. And it was a proud moment for somebody that, has poured a lot of resources into building a successful chapter, when you have to take down the wall to expand it because so many people are wanting to come out and collaborate. So how did you get to that break down the wall moment, though? Because you started from you start from the ground up, right? You might get 120 people at your first meeting as you launch. You drop down to like 20 or 30, and you start to build back up from a core group to 50, 60, 70, and whatever that might be. Can you talk, how did you get to bring together so many different types of people from the greater Salt Lake community?
So, first of all, it didn't start that way.
Right.
When I started the chapter, in the back of my mind, here I'm just revealing all of my insecurities and everything. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, worst case, I got a couple of buddies, so there'll be 3 people there.
Right. So more of a round table.
More of a round table. All these chairs. But what I found was exit planning has been on the mind of a lot of people. And they're looking to hitch their wagon to the right ship or to the right organization. And so when I started to bring it up, it made sense. And exit planning makes good business sense regardless of whether you're going to exit or not. And so these advisors, what I said resonated. And I just repeated what they taught me in the CPA training. How's that? It's nothing new, right?
Yeah, right.
But it resonated, and people, I just repeated it, and people started to, they were attracted to it because I followed that value acceleration methodology model, and I followed what I'd learned in my CPA training and repeated it, and they're like, yes, it resonates with me. I want to be part of it. And we have a couple of things in our chapter. We're not commercial. We don't allow people to come in and to peddle their wares or whatever. We are strictly educational and collaborative, and we have a no poaching rule. So when an advisor brings a client in, that a client doesn't feel like fresh meat in front of everyone else. So I think we created a forum that was safe and a forum that provided valuable education that people are already searching for, and it just naturally flourished.
Talk to me about the unique education that you're doing. If you go on Rick's LinkedIn, they had like I would describe it as they conducted a formal education session, but as you were going to like the Playhouse, right? Like here in Cleveland, you have Playhouse Square. You're like watching it unfold by seeing a story unfold. Talk to us about some of the unique things that you've put in there to attract and retain great people come to meetings.
So these are funny. So there's 2 things that I've done. Business owners are like Cinderella at their first ball. And I tell this story over and over. And I'm like, you're Cinderella, you're your first ball. What do? You fall in love with the first handsome prince that comes your way. You know, you get an unsolicited LOI, and I'm in love. Oh, somebody thinks I'm pretty. You know, like we joked about it. And I wrote a script. I wrote a mini play. I actually put on a dress, a blue dress and a wig.
Cinderella.
Yeah, Cinderella, right? I was Cinderella, and I was ugly, but I thought I was pretty. And I had there's more to that story.
You had a wig on and everything.
I had a wig on, and I had another chapter member. He was handsome prince, and he had the jacket. But, you know, when we threw in things like, I don't need to sign an NDA. We have a new thing, a new form. It's called a friend DA. You don't even have to sign it. You just trust me. You just give me all your taxes, you know. And we made fun of the process.
Yes.
But in making fun of it and ourselves, we're able to educate business owners in a meaningful way. And they're like, Cinderella, I get it. You know, here's a
and
handsome
keep
prince.
them engaged, I would assume, too, right? As somebody that has to produce a bunch of education classes and typically in kind of formal lecture form, storytelling, I think, becomes a big part of that, right? To kind of bring it back, make it real, see it applied, and keep it fun. And you did that in your most recent chapter meeting as well, and I thought it was super unique. I don't think every chapter is going to be able to have the courage to go out there and do that, but nonetheless, Rick's certainly doing it in Salt Lake City. That is for sure.
It's funny. And one other thing I want to share with you is I was really excited about this. I call it a reverse Shark Tank. It's Exit Planning Live. And what we do there is we've done one and we're going to do a second. We'll have more of these meetings next year. I struggled because I wanted to bring business owners to the event and I wanted them to be incognito so we could plan their exit. We're in the discovery gate. We have them fill out a questionnaire. Where are you at? What are your questions? And I thought, well, I can put them up in the front with a bag over their head and we won't know who they are. And that didn't sound good.
Yeah,
or like the old dating game where there's behind a wall, right? Contestant number one.
Yeah.
But what we did is we did a Zoom call. So they called in over Zoom and they'd filled out a questionnaire ahead of time about their business, their age, what their goals are, gas in their tank, their energy, and their biggest questions in their mind. And then we took the SEPAs in the room and the attendees, and we devised an exit plan for them. We took two paths. One is build, and one is sell. If you're going to go down the sell path, this is what you do. If you're going to build, these are the next step that you take. Have you done a business valuation? Have you calculated your wealth gap? Have you done a personal financial plan? What is your profit and value gaps? And at the end of that, they had a plan, and we wrote it on a board. Those business owners went away with such value from that meeting. In fact, I should share the comments. They just loved that meeting. They're like, Rick, you guys solidified what I knew. And some of the comments weren't so nice because we weren't in person.
Right.
A couple of the guys are like, your baby's ugly. That thing, it wouldn't sell.
Oh, man.
And it's like, ooh, that was a little hard to hear, but it's what they needed to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I had so much fun with that event. We're going to do more of those. And I thought that it would be hard to get business owners that wanted to do it, but they were like signing up before I even was halfway through my pitch. They're like, I'm in. Rick, sign me up. I got to do this. So they live with these questions every day in their head. They're wondering, do I build? Do I sell? What do I do? And they're thirsty for that help. And so the SEPAs and the SEPA community provided it to them real time at that event, and it was a huge success.
So kind of rounding this all out as our kind of resident collaborator here, right? And what does it take? So if I'm a brand new SEPA kind of entering this community, regardless of what professional discipline I represent, a core part of being a certified exit planning advisor, and I think an effective advisor with an owner, is the ability to collaborate and connect. So in your mind, if you had to give that advice out to your peers inside of the SEPA community, what to you makes a best-in-class collaborator and connector of people?
Read the book, The Go-Giver.
The Go-Giver. I think you've given me this book.
The Go-Giver is amazing. And relationships aren't like flipping a switch. We all want to just go flip a switch and, hey, we got this relationship. Yeah, we'll send business back and forth, right?
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
No.
And I would say the third thing is lead with your ears, not with your mouth. And what I mean by that is we want to meet someone and we want to give them the elevator pitch, right? And no, let's not give them the elevator pitch. Let's ask them about their business. Let me give you an example of that. So we were at a convention, and I had a booth at a convention. I was soliciting business owners for business, right? and I was giving away free valuations. I printed up all these cards. I had a big stack of these cards. I'm all excited. And people would walk by, and I'd go out and go, hey, you want a free business valuation? You know, it's worth like $800. And I struggled to give them away. The owners would actually, I watched them, they would walk around and they would avoid me like I had the plague. I thought I had COVID, right?
Yeah.
And I'm giving these things away. I'm like, hey, I'm giving you $800 worth of value here.
Right.
And I'm like, I need to change my approach. And so I went to the back of the booth instead of the front. And somebody walked by and I go, oh, nice cowboy boots. Where did you get those? Or I'd be like, how are you enjoying the show? You know, are you getting value? And so I led with questions and led with my ears. And they would come over to me. And then they would start talking, and I would just, start talking to them about their business. You know, how is your business doing? What's the market like? And they would talk to me, and we'd start a conversation for 10 or 15 minutes. And I would never bring up what I did. They would bring it up.
Yeah.
It would be like, okay, but when they brought it up, the walls were down, and it was no longer let's run away from them. They truly wanted to know what I wanted to know. Once they knew that I cared about them, then they cared about me,
right,
and they're willing to accept it. It was a total turnaround and total game changer for us at the event.
I love that. I think that's a great piece of advice. We talked to this a bit, too, inside of the SEPA community, and again, in our venture to become best in class and the most valued and trusted advisor is, I think, the advisor of the future, let's call it, right? The advisor that I think business owners are looking for now and in the future is somebody that can, instead of just giving the right answers, ask the right questions and listen. So I think it's actually a great piece of advice. Yeah. Rick, well, that is already... we're already at time, and so I might have to have you back so we could dive deeper around your Cinderella story and snowmobiling and your other impacts inside of the EPI community. I appreciate you coming all the way in from Utah to Ohio to join our partner summit over the last couple of weeks. You will see Rick again inside of the Utah chapter. So if you're in town, Utah chapter's open. Please feel free to check them out. You'll also see them next year at our Exit Planning Summit in Nashville, Tennessee. So, Rick, really appreciate you coming and hanging out on the Exit Is Now podcast, and you have a safe trip home.
Thank you.
For our audience, our next episode is October 15th, so please subscribe, listen, and leave a review on all of your podcast platforms. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for having me.
Yep.